All right, to this lockdown situation, I've got to say I'm pleasantly surprised by the decision to move us to level 2 in the capital. I was fully expecting the government to take Wellington straight to the usual level 3 lockdowns that those of us who live in Auckland have been forced into so frequently. I find myself feeling grateful for what seems to be a bit of a measured response today. What failed to surprise me, though, was the immediate public reaction to the news of the imported case. The first caller to Kerry's show this morning, if you heard it, was a guy saying that we should never have opened the bubble to Australia until we'd all been vaccinated, which is obviously so utterly ridiculous. I mean, you cannot be that risk averse. The logical endpoint of thinking like that, of having absolutely no risk at all, is to ban all flights from coming into the country, because everyone, whether they're crew on the flights or people going into MIQ or whatever, risk bringing COVID in, risk leaking COVID in, and we've seen that happen from time to time. That's the absolute no-risk scenario. We're not going to do that. We obviously can't do that, because people need to be able to come home. We need to get our exports in or out of planes. We've got to take some risk. And we need the Trans-Tasman bubble for a myriad reasons. And the risk we took is that a case might leak over. It's a calculated risk, and it is one that the health authorities are now managing. In fact, that is actually not the first question that we should be asking right now, whether the bubble was right or wrong. The question that we should be asking is, why are we so far behind on our vaccinations, which then lifts the risk of imported cases taking hold? Take a look at what is going on in Wellington at the moment, right? The epicentre of this particular problem. Wellington has got its foot right off the pedal when it comes to vaccinations. The vaccination rates in Wellington are so appalling that Wellington DHBs combined are the 5th worst performing DHBs in the country. I know of an over 65-year-old with asthma who you'd consider to be in a high priority category in Wellington still hasn't even been contacted about a jab appointment, when less vulnerable over 65-year-olds in Auckland had their jabs weeks ago. That's the problem. Not whether the bubble should have been open or we should have waited until we were jabbed, but why we're not jabbed or why we're not getting there faster. I don't completely buy this argument about supply. I mean, undoubtedly the government is now struggling to get jabs into the country. But the question again is, how did we end up in this situation? I mean, we are stoked about the fact that we managed to jab a millionth jab last night. Australia's rolled through more than 6.5 million jabs already. It's expecting to get another 2.5 million by the end of the week, next week from Pfizer. That number would have done our whole eligible population by now. Everyone else in the developed world of our size or bigger seems to have more vaccine than we do. Now, how did that happen? There clearly is very little that we can do to speed up a stubbornly sluggish rollout. But if you want to worry about the risk that we are facing because of this guy from Sydney, it's not the fact that we have a bubble, it's the lack of vaccine.
Listen to Rugby Direct every week to get the lowdown on all you need to know from the rugby world. Rugby Direct has it all. All Blacks, Black Ferns, NPC and more. Listen to Rugby Direct, powered by Newstalk ZB on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.